Now, we're looking at a soft Brexit. It's unclear to me whether the tone and language that we heard from the Prime Minister means that she's going to be more conciliatory with the European Union.
I think the big change since the election that we're now seeing take effect is that the big uncertainty now rests actually in the UK Parliament, not in the negotiations with the EU. So we're now into this phase in the negotiations, which just feels like a kind of normal negotiation. You've had a proposal on citizens' rights, you've had some noises about how it's not enough, but it's all in the kind of right range. I think we'll see very similar things on the Northern Ireland border and on financial contributions. So in a sense, these negotiations, I think, look like a normal negotiation. I think a deal is doable. The big uncertainty is that the government has to push through 8 Brexit bills through a House of Commons with basically no majority. And so that's where the uncertainty lies about, are we actually going to get to a point, in 18 months' time where you just don't have the legislation in place to do Brexit? I think that's the key uncertainty now.
What do you make of the EU nationals' rights today? Does that, if it's difficult or if the tone, again, is a little bit harsher than we thought, does it mean, like we heard from David Davis, that it's going to be a tough 3 months of negotiation, or is it?
You're always going to hear from David Davis and the government that this is very tough, that they're making big demands and it's going to be extremely difficult. Actually, I thought this was a pretty generous offer, had some innovative aspects around a 2-year grace period, which I think is a phrase we might hear quite a lot during these negotiations, because I think where there is flexibility on both sides, or particularly the UK side, is around transition and that kind of thing. So I think this is a fairly positive sign on the negotiation side. The issue is all in the Parliament.
Well, that's where I wanted to go. How much does the Parliament support Prime Minister May right now? I'm confused on that.
Well, it looks like she is going to have a formal majority, right? So the DUP, the Northern Irish Party, are going to support the government when it comes to any confidence vote. But that ensures the stability of the government, i.e. Theresa May is going to remain Prime Minister for as long as the Conservative Party wants her to remain Prime Minister. The issue is when it comes to individual votes on individual pieces of legislation, first of all, in the House of Commons, you only need a few Conservative rebels to overturn specific votes on, for example, this repeal bill is going to take, vast numbers of EU regulations, put them into UK law. Each one of those could be a flashpoint. So we're going to see this kind of rolling kind of thunder of lost votes, last-minute negotiations on UK legislation. And then you've got the House of Lords, which I think feels extremely emboldened by the inconclusive election result. They could make life even more difficult for them.